am live. It is the 21st of July, it's a Monday, and I am reading The Last Barrier, a Sufi journey, written by Reshad Feild in 1976. He passed away in 2016. I'm here in chapter 10, and I've already read part of chapter 10. Reshad is in Turkey, and he's learning with Hamid, and he has met this old man, Didi. During that period, it seemed wrong for me to question Didi. After giving a discourse or telling a story, he would smile and leave it to me to work out the inner meaning of his words. Once he told me that there were 4 levels of understanding, and that it was up to me to listen with the greatest possible awareness, so that I would not take things literally. Didi says that most people understand only on the most obvious levels. They read the Quran or the sacred books and do not see that everything that has been written down has other, deeper meanings than what appears on the surface. You might read in the Quran about a battle and think that the story is only about a battle. But the battle is not just an historical event. It is now. If you see it in this way, then you can understand at the second level, allegorically. Didi says that if you listen to the stories that he tells and know that they are actually illustration of something else, then you may touch on their meaning, and not just on their outward form, which is for those people who do not want to hear the truth, or else are not yet ready to accept all that the truth entails. Didi says that there are 2 further levels on which you can understand, the metaphysical and the mystical levels. Sometimes when he tells a story, however simple it is, he is telling it not only as an allegory, but also to illustrate one of the great laws of the universe. Mevlana always spoke in this way, and Didi wants you to study all of his works. He says that the deepest level of understanding is mystical. That is when it is not the words that count, not the allegory, not even the laws of the universe, but when your heart is so deeply touched that the truth which is within is experienced directly, in a state that is even beyond knowledge or conviction. Sometimes you will see dervishes cry because the beauty of God is almost too much to bear when you become completely absorbed in it. Didi would sit in the courtyard outside the museum and speak of these things, nudging Farid to make sure that he understood the concepts he was translating. Then, while the story or the discourse was spoken in English, Didi would beam at me, watching every slightest move or reaction that I made. If I heard at the correct depth of understanding, he would know it, and put his right hand over his heart and give a little bow. Then there were wonderful days. Slowly the chaos that I had been experiencing reformed itself into a new sense of order. Something was growing in me, and I began to see that it was the real I beginning to manifest after the stripping away of the real veils. Didi told me of the training of the Mevlevi dervishes, a course lasting 1,001 days, during which time they study philosophy, the humanities, the works of Mevlana, and the turn of the dervishes. I resolved that if I ever had the chance, I would return to Konya one day to study and to return to these people the love that I felt from them. Sometimes in the evenings, friends of Didi would come around, and there would be storytelling and discussions late into the night. Only once did I meet with anything less than full acceptance. One of the guests who had come to the house kept looking over his shoulder at me and talking in a low voice to Didi and Farid. I watched Didi getting very angry. He was patient for a long time, trying to explain something to the man. I gathered that it was the usual question of whether or not I had embraced Islam. Finally, Didi slammed his fist down on the brass coffee table in front of him, shattering the little cups, and shouted at the man. Farid turned to me and said, "The man asked whether you are an Orthodox Muslim. Didi tells him that you believe in God. And is that not enough?" Since my first visit to Konya, I had been fascinated by the turn of the dervishes. In the hall outside Didi's room hung many old, framed photographs of dervishes, spinning in their tall hats and flowing white robes, their heads tilted slightly to one side. Didi had shown me pictures of his son turning at the great celebration held in December of each year to honor the coming into union of Mevlana, their teacher and guide for 700 years. I felt sure that there must be a reason behind this form of worship. Didi used to say that the cause of the tree is the fruit, and not the roots, since the tree was planted for the fruit, and not for the roots. And the cause of the universe being brought into existence in love is man, he said. That is, man who has come to love God perfectly. He is called perfected man, for there really is nothing left of him. There is only the eternal presence of God. If this was so, then when the dervishes was turning, spinning around and round in the circle of ecstasy that I had witnessed, there must be something much deeper than just the experience, and this hidden secret was what I want to discover. One day we were sitting in Didi's room drinking coffee when he turned to me and said something in Turkish. Didi says that you should learn the turn, Farid informed me. Then the old man waved his hand, pointed to the floor, signifying that I was to stand in the middle of the room. Rather embarrassed, I stood up, and Didi moved his hand round and round in an anti-clockwise direction with the index finger pointing outwards to show which way the turn went. Didi says that you should start to turn very slowly. He said that you should cross your arms over your chest as you do when you enter the museum. Do you understand? As I had been taught, I crossed my arms, placing my right hand on my left shoulder and my left hand on my right shoulder. Didi says that you should practice with your arms as they are now. Please try it. With as much dignity as possible, I turned to my left. I made only 2 or 3 turns when I became so giddy that I had to stop. That caused them both tremendous amusement, and Didi began to speak again. You see, Farid translated, it's important that you make yourself a center right in the middle of your chest. Here, he pointed to my chest. If you do not make the center there, you will get sick and you will fall over. Only if you are in the right place can you turn in the correct way. The left foot must never leave the floor. In the old days, when you were taught the turn, a big nail would be driven into the floor between your big toe and the next one, and you would have to turn around the nail so that your foot never left the ground. That is because the work of a real dervish is here, on this earth. The Quran tells us, stand proud in this world, but bow in the next. You must be the balance between this world and the world to come. Now, please try again. Putting all my concentration on the point in the center of my chest, I closed my eyes and tried to turn around, with my left foot firmly anchored to the floor. No, your eyes open, please. I started again and found that it was much easier with my eyes open. Now you must learn to pick up the right foot so that it comes up behind the left leg, and then you put it down the other side of the leg. It is as though your body turns to where you put your foot, but it is difficult and will take much time to learn. This time, as I concentrated on the placement of my right foot, I lost my balance and forgot completely about centering in the heart. I became giddy, thought I was going to be sick, and sat down abruptly. Didi was enjoying himself thoroughly, rolling about with laughter. Then he spoke with Farid for a few moments. Didi said that he will turn for you, but he is an old man and so his arms do not go up properly anymore. He says that if you want to learn, his son will teach you, but that it would take at least 6 weeks of hard work. Then, perhaps, you would go to England and teach them how to turn? The old man got slowly to his feet. He walked across to a cupboard on the side of the room, leaning inside, and drew out a black robe and a tall hat of beige felt. Handing the hat to Farrett, he took the robe, spread it in front of him, and kissed it before putting it on. Farrett handed him the hat, and he walked slowly in silence to the center of the room. Then he crossed his arms, bowed low, and began very slowly to revolve. It was an effortless, easy-flowing motion that reminded me of a boat turning in the current of a river moving to the sea. Then, little by little, this spin grew faster, until there came a moment when he uncurled his arms so that the right hand was raised, palm up, and the left pointed to the ground. It was incredibly beautiful, like the unfolding of a perfect flower. His left foot never left the floor, and although his arms were not raised as high as those of the young dervish I had seen the last time I had been in Konya, there was such a gentle dignity to his movement that both Farid and I were touched. Didi's head was tilted a little to the left, his eyes open, yet his gaze was nowhere in space. He was bowing in another world, but his body was turning in this. When he stopped, he bowed once more, and then, taking off his robe and kissing it once again, he handed the hat and robe to Farid and sat down quietly. "Now," he said, "I will tell you a little more about the turn." During the translation that followed, Didi interrupted frequently so that the point was made clear, and he would ask for my comments to be repeated back to him. "It is like this," he said. "When you turn, you do not turn for yourself, but for God. We turn around in the way we do, so that the light of God may descend upon the earth. As you act as a channel in the turn, the light comes through the right hand, and the left hand brings it into this world. It is what you call in the West alchemy, for if you concentrate correctly in your prayer to God, then you make the necessary sacrifice of yourself. In this way, light, which contains it within itself perfect order, is able to come through onto the earth. We turn for God and for the world, and it is the most beautiful thing you can imagine. If you are quiet and in a state of prayer when you turn, offering everything of yourself to God, then, when your body is spinning, there is a completely still point in the center. In the knowledge that there is only Him, you can experience the universe turning around that center. When you turn, all the stars and the planets and the endless universes turn around that still point. The heavens respond, and all the invisible kingdoms join in the dance. Jesus said, "Unless you dance, you know not what cometh to pass." That is why we turn, but the world does not understand. They think we turn in order to go into some sort of trance. It is true that sometimes we do go into that state you call ecstasy, but it is only when we know and experience at the same time. We do not turn for ourselves. So I make a break here and continue soon.